What's going on, everybody? This weekend I saw a couple movies, and the movie that I'm going to be reviewing today is 28 Years Later. And my thoughts on it are I like this movie for the most part. There are some story decisions that didn't make much sense to me, but I do know that this is basically chapter one of a three-chapter story, so I'm willing to kind of give it some grace and just see where the story goes in the future installments. Each of the 28 movies take place in a different part of the world, and this movie in particular takes place on an island in Scotland, I believe, with a society that has kind of gone back to to the old ways in like the 1700s or wherever, where there's hunters and gatherers, but they can still teach, and there's a one-room schoolhouse, and they rely on animals for food and product and stuff like that. To me, it was kind of reminiscent of what like the society was like that was built in The Last of Us season 2, with everybody that was in there in their own like little like enclosed area. So that's like a little comparison that you could have. In the trailers, I felt as if they made it out that like Aaron Taylor Johnson was the main character in this movie, and he's in the movie for like maybe 25 minutes. So that was kind of disappointing. Jodie Comer plays the mother of the main character, Spike, the little boy, and she does a really good job playing like basically this kooky person, but you kind of find out like why she is that way. We'll get into that later on in the review. The main character, as I just said, Spike, is the son of Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor Johnson, and his main mission in this movie is to find out why his mom is basically not acting like his mom anymore. She's got something going on with her and nobody knows what it is, but it's his mission to find out what it is. At the beginning, Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, takes Spike out to the mainland for his first hunting trip. In this movie, we are basically Spike. We're kind of finding out everything that's new for the first time with him. So I like that angle that they played, whereas like Spike is the audience. I like that a lot. And while he's hunting out there with his dad, they talk about how the zombies have evolved in a way, and there's like different classes of zombies. So they have what I forget what they're called, but I call them the crawlers. They're just these really fat zombies that just crawl and are really slow. And then there's like the normal zombies, like they're a little bit smarter and they're a little bit faster. And then there's the alpha, the one who's just in charge of all of them. And basically, this fool just can't die. Going back to Jamie and Spike, though, while they're on their zombie hunting trip, they kill some crawlers. And on the way back home, they come across an alpha and all of his followers. And so they basically just get chased back into the forest, and now they got to survive a night in the forest. There is a pretty intense sequence that's actually really cool of him and his son just shooting, kind of being like basically a military style of like, okay, I'm going to shoot, then I'm going to run and reload. And while I'm reloading, then you shoot, and then we'll keep doing this back and forth. It reminded me a lot of actually when I would play soccer and how the midfielders would come back and help the defense. And when the defense was up, the defense would then come back into position and help the midfielders get back to the midfield. So I like that a lot. I like the style that they did that. And I just thought it was a cool idea and a cool strategy to fight off these zombies. While they were hiding out at night, Spike noticed a fire in the distance, and he asked Jamie what that fire is. And Jamie just said that he didn't know, played it off like nothing. And then the next morning, they go back on their way to home. And while they're on the way back, it was actually like a transition of night into morning. And the visuals were stunning in this sequence, by the way. But they were getting chased by an alpha, and so you really feel the intimidation and the power of the alpha in this scene. And so I really like that scene a lot. Once they're back, though, Spike starts asking questions about the fire too. I believe it's like the leader of their little tribe that they have right now, and he said that it's actually a doctor that's out there that has chosen to live out in the forest on the mainland. As soon as Spike finds this out, it's his main mission to get back to the mainland to find the doctor to help cure his mom for whatever she's sick with. We don't know. We just know she has outbursts. We know she has a headache. She gets nosebleeds, things like that. So what I like about this movie is that it starts off with like that father and son kind of like bonding moment. I've never been hunting, but there's those moments in life between a boy and his dad where it's just like the dad will take the boy out to do something to teach them a lesson in a good way to help for like survival needs or something like that. I really like those kinds of stories. And then the lessons that Spike learned from that trip out with his dad and encountering the zombies, encountering the alpha, all that, it comes into play and effect when it comes to protecting his mom later, when the story transitions from a father and son movie to a mother and son movie. And I like that. I just wish it would have been an actual like a family movie to where the mom and the dad and Spike were all out there together, all trying to get to the doctor together. But they kind of make Jamie out to be like this piece of shit. So as Hollywood does with most males now, and he's just basically written out of the story. So again, going back to when Spike finds out that there's a doctor out on the mainland, he sets fire to another part of like his tribal area, so that way he can take his mom and sneak out and try to go to the mainland and try to find this doctor, which they do. But of course, they encounter some zombies along the way. It'd be a pretty boring movie if they didn't. So they first encounter a zombie, or like a swarm of zombies, about halfway through the movie, a little bit more than halfway through the movie. And then how they escape from them, they run into a Shell gas station, and then they get saved by a soldier. These soldiers, they kind of just like come out of nowhere. There's just a scene that's thrown in there with soldiers killing zombies to then set up the scene of them getting saved by the soldier. There's no real like explanation as to why they're there until later on. You're just like, oh, okay, this guy's just here out of nowhere. That's interesting. So the soldier then joins them on their quest. He saved them, and Spike needs help because he's just a little boy. The soldier Eric helps them for a little bit, and but they take a break, and he's just on his phone. And you're like, wait, there's phones here? And then he talks about how his friend is a delivery driver. So it's like there's a whole society out there that's actually living like we do today, and they just kind of just talk about it as if it's like normal or something. And then you're like, wait, hold on, how and why and where is everyone else that can help with all the other people around the world? Like, why is it just this one section? So hopefully this is one of those questions that gets answered in the later movies, but just in this movie, it just feels off. There is, however, a pretty funny scene though, where Eric shows Spike his fiance, and Spike's like, what's wrong with her face? Because this chick had more plastic in her face than a Kardashian. It was hilarious. My whole theater was cracking up. Definitely one of the best scenes in the movie. So as Eric, Spike, and the mom, Elsa, or Isla, I think that was her name, Isla, are on their way to find the doctor, they hear this screaming out of nowhere. They come across a pregnant zombie. How are they pregnant? I don't know. They don't answer the question to it. And the zombie tries to attack Isla, and then she just doesn't. No reason or explanation as to why. Isla delivers the baby out of this zombie, this pregnant zombie, and the baby's not infected. How? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Hopefully we'll find out in one of the next movies. But due to that screaming, the Alpha also sensed where they were, and now the Alpha has come to attack them. And I will say it probably was the most intense scene for me, because with this movie in particular, you truly don't know who's going to live and die. It wasn't announced until after this movie had come out, or like up until like very recently, who's going to be returning in the next one called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. I thought it was only going to be one character from this movie, which was the Doctor. And but no, like apparently there's more. But not knowing that made this scene really intense, with the Alpha chasing them through like this abandoned train trying to get the baby. Now I think the Alpha didn't care about the humans at all. He just wanted the baby because that baby's his. But again, who knows? I don't know. I really hope we get answers to these questions. So while they're on the run, the Alpha gets stopped by the Doctor. The Doctor has the little blow darts that can actually put him to sleep, because he mixes a bunch of medicine and everything like that. And then they go with the Doctor, and then Spike tells him what's wrong. The Doctor examines Isla, the mom, and says, hey, I don't know what this is, but I think you got cancer and you're going to die pretty soon. It's going to be painful. And so with that, he kind of had a side conversation that was off screen, just saying like, hey, like I can kill you and make it easy and smooth for you, or you can just live the rest of your days in pain. So the mom ends up dying. And there's this whole like ritual that they do. It's a weird scene, but it is visually beautiful, and the music was amazing as well. So basically, Spike went on this whole journey, put his mom in danger, put himself in journal, left his dad back at the tribe just for his mom to die anyways. So I don't think that I liked that part of the story overall, but it's something that I can just be okay with. After that, after the death of the mom and everything like that, there's another attack from an Alpha. And of course, because it's the main character of this movie, the main character of the next movie, they survive. Spike's got the baby, and he's supposed to go home and get the baby and tell everybody what happened. Well, he decides he doesn't want to go back home. So he just leaves the baby on the doorstep and then goes back to the mainland. And you're like, wait, why don't you want to go back home? Like, I get that you and your dad aren't in best terms because he found out his dad was cheating on his mom earlier in the movie. After all that you went through, you don't want to at least go back home where you know it's safe. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, a lot of the decisions in this movie. And the very end is a complete tonal shift away from the entire movie. So like the very end is like a mirror of the very beginning of the movie. And if you see in the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it just, the way that it's done, the music that they did, it was just way off. It completely throws you off, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Because there was a way that they could have ended it with the music going, the music was crescendoing, there's voiceover from Spike, and it could have been a good end. And then just out of nowhere, you're like, wait, what? This is happening? Why? And it very clearly leads into the next movie. It just didn't fit. This very much just feels like a television episode with a cliffhanger on it. I would have rather have this scene at at the very end, the scene at the very end, be the post credit scene. I think it would have fit better overall within the context of the movie. Now, it sounds like I'm complaining quite a bit, but I do like most of this movie. Just the things that I'm complaining about are pretty big things. So, but as I said at the beginning, I know this is technically chapter 1 in a 3-chapter arc, so I'm willing to let a lot of this stuff go as long as I get answers down the line. I was a little confused as to why Jamie, Aaron Taylor Johnson, didn't go out looking for Spike and Isla. Like that's his son and his wife. Whether or not he did a stupid thing doesn't change the fact that he loves his family. Like, you know that he loves his family in this, but it just like, it's almost as if Aaron Taylor Johnson had to film something else. So they're like, okay, we'll have you here and then we'll just write you out and then bring you back. So again, it just, there's so many tonal shifts in this movie and there's a lot of decisions that are made that just don't fit the right way. One little fan theory that I have though now after seeing this is like seeing the alpha and seeing that the female zombies can get pregnant and things like that. But when they get pregnant, their children are not zombies. They're innocent and they're pure again and they have a soul again. I think what's going to happen is that the zombies will still have like a connection to that baby, even though it's not a zombie baby, and they'll raise it. But that's going to cause these humans to be raised like cavemen, and they're going to become cavemen. And the whole cycle, the whole human evolutionary cycle is going to repeat like that, to where eventually the zombies will become extinct. It'll just be normal humans, and then they'll advance, everything like that. And then another virus will break out in another couple thousand years or whatever. And then the whole thing will just repeat like that. I think that might be where the story's going. I don't know 100%. That was just like a thought that came to me as I was watching this go on. If you saw the movie, let me know what you think about that theory down below. 28 Years Later, I believe, had the best style of filming throughout the other, compared to the other two movies. The other two movies felt like they were just made on a home cam video, especially 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later was a little bit of both. It felt like that home cam style, and then also just like an actual like movie. This one feels like it was filmed to be a movie, so I like that quite a bit. It made the pacing go by better, and it actually kept me more into the movie, regardless of whether or not I was confused by the decision making from the story aspect. The acting in this movie also is fantastic from everybody, especially Jodie Comer. She does a great job showing that she's in pain when she goes loony and goes crazy. She does a great job portraying somebody that's really confused and not knowing what's going on. And she's a really good actress. I think she's got an Academy Award in her future. While this movie left many questions unanswered for me and had a bunch of tonal shifts, I still had a really good time with it overall. Again, I know it sounds like I complained a lot, but everything I'm complaining about is at the core, but everything around it I actually really liked. And that part is what's good enough for me to actually like this movie and not come out of it complaining. Not complaining overall as in like a dislike towards the movie. I still overall like the movie. And out of all three that have been released so far, I would definitely rewatch this one the most. I give this movie a solid 8 out of 10. I'm looking forward to seeing where this story goes in the next one, the 28 Years Later Bone Temple. And the fun fact is that, like I said, this is meant to be a 3-chapter story, but they don't have the finances for the third movie. They have the second one filmed. It comes out in January, but people have to go see this movie 28 Years Later and 28 Years Later The Bone Temple in the theaters, so that way the studio can see people care about these movies, people want to see where it goes, and then distribute the finances for the third one. So if you want to see the story in full, I do, because I got a lot of questions that aren't answered. We got to go see this in the theater, so be sure to check it out in the theater. If you saw 28 Years Later this past weekend, let me know what you think about it down below. Do you agree or disagree with any of my takes, any of my critiques? Did you have any of the questions that I had that didn't get unanswered? Were they answered and I missed them? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies. Peace.